Hello, everyone. Today's topic is a very important topic, and that is the menstrual cycle. And I think this cycle, most students get confused and end up writing all unrelevant things. So today's cycle will make all the phases clear, and then you should be able to attempt all the structured questions of the menstrual cycle. So you know that menstrual cycle is a very important part in the reproductive life cycle of a female. So menstrual cycle is controlled by two organs and hormones from the endocrine glands. So two organs which are important for the menstrual cycle, or which there are changes in those organs. They are the ovary, okay, and there is this uterus. Okay, so two organs where changes take place and are significant for the menstrual cycle are the ovary and the uterus. So there are changes in the ovary, there are changes in the uterus. Now, there are changes, that means the ovary produces some hormones. The ovary produces some hormones, that is progesterone. Okay, it also produces estrogen. Apart from this, you very well know that pituitary gland is a very important endocrine gland, which is also referred to as the master gland. This plays a role. This plays a role in the menstrual cycle by secreting important hormones like FSH and LH. FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, and the LH. So all of them together play a role in the menstrual cycle. So before we start, you should know all the phases of the menstrual cycle. So the menstrual cycle is a 28-day cycle, roughly. I mean, it's not fixed in all the females, but roughly we take an approximate 28-day cycle, 0 to 28 days. Okay, so here they've started from the first day. All right. So the first day is the first to seventh day, or you can say 0 to 5th sometimes. It's okay. You can take first to 7th. That's called the menstrual phase. It lasts for 7 days, where the uterine lining is shed, the endometrium lining that gets thickened every month is shed. Okay. And we assume that the unfertilized egg along with the uterine lining is shed, and it's called weeping of the uterus for the lost ovum or the lost egg. So that is the menstrual cycle. This is the first phase. Okay. After the uterine lining has been shed, so there is the next phase, which is the mending phase, which starts from the, you can say, it is like, sometimes in some books it is written like, say, 5th to 13th, or you can say 7th to 13th. Okay. 7th to 13th day, which is the follicular phase. So follicular phase, two things take place. Two structures are exhibiting some changes. The first one is the ovary. Inside the ovary, you will see the follicles maturing. Okay, so that's why it's called the follicular phase. And also the uterine lining starts mending, because the ovary starts secreting estrogen, which will mend the endometrium lining to make it thicker, thicker, thicker. Okay. So now the next phase is the ovulation phase, which we say like, the 14th day. The 14th day, and this chart has, the ranges, because nothing is fixed. You can say the 14th day in the cycle or the midpoint of the cycle roughly. So during this phase, we assume that the follicles inside the ovaries have matured, and one of the follicles, which is called the Graafian follicle, releases the, and that's why the release is called the ovulation. Now, which hormone causes the release and all, we'll do it from the next graph. And then finally, there are two options. Either the egg is fertilized, that means F, not fertilized, NF. Okay, not fertilized is NF. If it is fertilized, then what happens? The uterine lining has to grow thicker, 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 and the hormone progesterone has to be stable. If it is not fertilized, again it will go into the menstrual cycle, where the unfertilized ovum and the thickened uterine lining will be shed. So this is a cycle that goes on every month in a female. So let's see what hormones and what organs are involved. So now this is a detailed graph showing all the structures. Okay, so you can see, let us just go, hormone wise. So there are two glands which play a role. Pituitary plays a role. So pituitary secretes FSH and LH. So let us see the path these hormones take. So during the reproductive cycle, or as a female attains puberty, there is onset of the menstrual cycle called the menarche. And as the menarche takes place, the pituitary is active and it secretes hormones FSH. And now, so starting from the first day to the seventh day, as we said, and after that, so what is the role or what is the concentration of FSH? So FSH increases, it starts increasing because just after the menstrual phase, you will see that the follicles developing inside the ovary. So it was less during the menstrual phase. It starts, increasing in the follicular phase. It starts increasing, and there is the 14th day where the FSH, now when the follicle ruptures to secrete the ovum, the level decreases. There is LH surge. Okay, so there is LH, means luteinizing hormone. So luteinizing hormones path will be very less in the menstruation phase. It is lesser in the follicular phase, but as on the 14th day or during the midpoint, there is an LH surge that results in the rupture of the follicle, Graafian follicle, to release the ovum. So you can see FSH was low in the menstrual phase. Again, it starts little increase, and then it decreases once the ovulation is reached, and then LH takes a surge. Now, after ovulation, of course, these are not required because the fate of the ovum has to be decided. So FSH goes down during the secretory phase, or you can say the luteal phase, whereas LH also goes down. So simple path is they are less in the menstrual. They see, the FSH increases, and then again it becomes less after ovulation, and then it is lesser till the cycle is coming to the next phase, or you can say the menstrual cycle. Again, it starts increasing. LH takes a surge on the 14th day and again becomes lesser. Okay. Now, so the role of FSH and LH is clear. Okay, and these two are secreted by the pituitary. So pituitary secretes FSH and LH. Now, there is another hormones which are released, which is estrogen and progesterone. Okay. Now their role. So developing follicles release estrogen. That means you can say that the ovaries release estrogen. Okay. So you will see that initially the follicles were ruptured in the menstrual phase. So the graph is lesser. And then it starts increasing during the follicular phase when the follicle starts maturing. So there is this primordial, primary, secondary, tertiary, and the Graafian follicle just before the ovulation, when it bursts, it is like on the peak. The estrogen is on the peak, and this estrogen is mending the uterine layer. And then as the follicle ruptures, the estrogen level goes down. So you can see this yellow graph going down, and then again after the fate is decided, again when it enters the follicular phase, it goes down. Sometimes it is like if pregnancy takes place, the estrogen level goes down. Now the last one, which is the progesterone is going to be less, lesser, and after the 14th phase, that means progesterone is secreted by the corpus luteum. Corpus luteum is the remnant of the Graafian. So the mature follicle is called the Graafian follicle, and as saying that it is lower in the menstrual phase and the ovulation phase, or the follicular phase. But after the ovulation phase, when the corpus luteum, there is this structure called corpus luteum, which is the remnant of the Graafian follicle. Graafian follicle bursts and forms the corpus luteum. So this corpus luteum releases progesterone hormone. Okay. Now, corpus luteum is releasing. So, of course, corpus luteum is formed only after the ovulation. So, the concentration of the progesterone will increase after the 14th day, that is after ovulation, and then it reaches a peak. And then again, if menstruation takes place, again the level will go down. So this is about the four hormones. And then finally, you can see about the uterine lining. So what happens to the uterine lining? You can see the uterine lining is being shed. So it goes down in the menstrual phase. Again, it is being mended. It goes up. And then after ovulation, if pregnancy takes place and the level of progesterone is high, again, it will be mended till the fate is decided. Similarly, you can see the follicles getting ruptured in the menstrual phase. And then, there's follicular phase where, they are developing. So this is a Graafian follicle. So the Graafian follicle ruptures, and this is ovulation. And what is left over here is your corpus luteum. So this corpus luteum acts like a temporary endocrine gland. It acts like a temporary endocrine gland and secretes progesterone. And again, if pregnancy doesn't take place, this will also get degenerated. Okay. So in short, this was, the roles of the hormones and the roles of ovary and uterus during the menstrual cycle. Stay tuned for that part 4. Thank you so much for today.